We are taught a very specific sequence for financial success in America. Go to college, buy a house with a 30-year fixed mortgage, max out your 401k, drive a reliable car that you keep for 10 years, put your extra cash in a high-yield savings account. It sounds responsible. It sounds safe. It is the exact playbook endorsed by every traditional financial advisor, every well-meaning parent, and every mainstream personal finance blog. But here is what nobody in the traditional finance industry wants to admit. Following this exact playbook is no longer a recipe for wealth. It is a recipe for getting permanently stuck. It is a formula designed perfectly for the economic reality of 1995. Today, doing everything right is exactly what guarantees you will never escape the middle-class grind. The math has changed. The advice has not. We are living through an era where asset prices are completely decoupled from wage growth. According to recent data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, inflation-adjusted wages have barely moved over the last 2 decades for the median earner, while the cost of housing, healthcare, and education has multiplied. Yet most Americans making between $80,000 and $200,000 a year are still running the old software. They are making decisions that feel financially prudent. They pat themselves on the back for being responsible. But when you look closely at their balance sheets, their net worth is barely outpacing inflation. They are running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. They cannot figure out why they feel poorer every year despite getting raises and following the rules. The issue is not that they are wasting money on luxury items or bad habits. The issue is their smart money moves. The very decisions they think are building wealth are actually the anchors holding them down. Today I'm going to walk you through the 7 conventional money moves that secretly destroy wealth. By the end, you will understand why the old playbook is broken, and exactly what the truly wealthy are doing instead. Number 1 is treating your primary residence as your ultimate investment vehicle. This is the great American financial myth. You are told that buying a home is the most important wealth-building step you can take. So people stretch their budgets to buy the biggest house they can qualify for in the best neighborhood. But a primary residence is a consumption item that happens to appreciate. It is not an income-producing asset. When you buy a $500,000 house, you are not just paying the mortgage, you're paying property taxes, homeowner's insurance, maintenance, and HOA fees. According to Bankrate data, the hidden costs of homeownership add up to nearly $18,000 a year for the average American home. That is $18,000 of unrecoverable costs every single year. When you factor in inflation and maintenance, the true real return on a primary residence historically hovers around 1% per year. The wealthy buy homes to live in. The middle class buys homes hoping they will make them rich, tying up all their liquidity in dry rot and roof repairs. Number 2 is parking all your liquidity in high-yield savings accounts. Right now, everyone is thrilled to be getting 4 or 5% on their cash. It feels like a massive win compared to the 0% we had for a decade. But run the numbers. If you earn 5% on $50,000, you make $2,500 in interest, but you have to pay income tax on that interest. If you are in the 24% federal tax bracket, plus state taxes, your net return drops to around 3.5%. Now factor in real inflation, not just the headline CPI, but the actual cost of goods, services, and assets you want to buy. The purchasing power of that cash is still going backward. Cash is for emergency funds and short-term liabilities. It is not a wealth-building strategy. When you hoard cash because it feels safe, you are choosing the certainty of slow impoverishment over the short-term volatility of real asset growth. Number 3 is believing your 401k match is a complete retirement strategy. Financial advisors always say to get the employer match because it is free money, and you certainly should. But the middle class stops there. They put in 5%. The company matches 5%, and they think the job is done. Here is the hidden math. Saving 10% of your income over a 30-year career will no longer replace your standard of living in retirement. It worked when healthcare was cheap and life expectancies were shorter. Today, a target date fund in a 401k is designed to prevent absolute poverty in your 70s, not to build generational wealth or give you freedom in your 50s. If you rely solely on your 401k, you are locking your money up until you are 59 and a half. You have zero optionality. The wealthy use retirement accounts for tax optimization, but they build their real wealth in taxable brokerage accounts and real estate where they have access to their capital to seize opportunities. Number 4 is the trap of the responsible car upgrade. I'm not talking about buying a $100,000 luxury vehicle. I am talking about the person who buys a sensible $48,000 SUV because they had a kid or got a promotion. They tell themselves they will keep it for 10 years. They tell themselves it is an investment in safety. The first cost is obvious, the depreciation. But there is a second cost most people ignore, the opportunity cost. According to Edmunds, the average new car payment in the US is over $700 a month. Let us project that out. If instead of taking on a $700 car payment, you kept your older, paid-off vehicle and invested that $700 every month at an 8% annual return. Over 20 years, that reliable car upgrade cost you over $400,000 in lost wealth. You are trading nearly $500,000 of future freedom for a new car smell and a backup camera. Number 5 is optimizing for expenses instead of income. The middle class is obsessed with cutting costs. They cancel subscriptions, clip coupons, and brew their own coffee. They spend hours trying to save $50 on a utility bill. There is a hard mathematical floor to how much you can cut. You can only cut your expenses down to zero, and realistically, you can never even get close to that. But there is no ceiling to how much you can earn. The wealthy do not spend their weekends trying to lower their grocery bill by 10%. They spend that time building a new income stream, acquiring a high-value skill, or negotiating a 30% raise. Frugality will keep you out of debt, but frugality alone will never make you rich. It is a defense-only strategy in a game that requires offense. Number 6 is rushing to pay off low-interest debt. The emotional desire to be completely debt-free is incredibly strong. People will take thousands of dollars in extra cash flow and throw it at a 3% mortgage or a 4% student loan just to feel the psychological weight lift. This is a massive mathematical error. If you have a $400,000 mortgage at 3%, inflation is actively eating away the real value of that debt for you. You are paying it back with cheaper dollars every single year. If you take an extra $1,000 a month and pay down that cheap mortgage, you are locking in a 3% return on your money. If you put that same $1,000 into the S&P 500, historically you earn around 10%. The spread between those two choices over 20 years is hundreds of thousands of dollars. Debt is a tool. The middle class treats it like a sin. The wealthy treat it like a laver. Number 7 is defaulting to more education to solve an income problem. When a middle-class professional feels stuck in their career, their first instinct is often to go back to school. They take out $50,000 in student loans to get a specialized master's degree, assuming the credential will magically unlock a higher tax bracket. The problem is the return on investment for traditional degrees has collapsed. Unless you are entering a strictly regulated field like medicine or law, employers care about specific skills and demonstrable results. They do not care about expensive paper. Taking on midlife student debt destroys your cash flow precisely during your peak compounding years. You lose the money you spent on the degree. You lose the opportunity cost of investing that money. And you lose the time you spent studying instead of building leverage in your actual career. Let us look at how this plays out in the real world. Take two couples, David and Christine, and Michael and Sarah. Both couples live in suburban Chicago. Both are 32 years old. Both households bring in $160,000 a year. David and Christine follow the traditional smart money playbook. They buy a $600,000 house with a large mortgage. They upgrade their cars to reliable, newer models, giving them $1,400 a month in car payments. They put 5% into their 401ks to get the match. They park their leftover cash in a high-yield savings account because it feels safe. On paper, they look incredibly successful. In reality, they are treading water. Every dollar they earn is spoken for by a liability or a depreciating asset. Michael and Sarah take a different path. They rent a townhouse for $2,800 a month, which is far less than David and Christine's total housing costs. They drive two 10-year-old sedans with zero payments. They take the difference. They invest $2,000 every single month into a taxable brokerage account holding low-cost index funds. Fast forward 25 years, David and Christine finally own their house outright, but they have very little liquid wealth. They are entirely dependent on their pensions or Social Security to maintain their lifestyle. Michael and Sarah never bought the big house, but that $2,000 a month invested at an 8% annual return over 25 years grew to over $1.9 million. They have total liquidity. They have total freedom. They can buy a house in cash if they want to, or they can travel the world. Same income, same neighborhood, entirely different realities. This brings us to the ultimate truth about building wealth in modern America. The financial system is not designed to make you rich. It is designed to make you a highly efficient, highly predictable consumer. The system wants you to buy the big house, so you will pay property taxes and mortgage interest for 30 years. The system wants you to upgrade your car so you remain locked into the credit cycle. Every time you follow the conventional safe path, you are making a trade. You are trading your future freedom for the appearance of present-day success. Wealth is not about what you own. It is about the options you control. When all your money is trapped in home equity, car payments, and restricted retirement accounts, you have zero options. You cannot quit a toxic job. You cannot start a business. You cannot take a year off to care for a sick parent. You are entirely dependent on your next paycheck just to keep the whole illusion from collapsing. Breaking out of the middle class requires you to stop playing the game by their rules. It requires you to look at every conventional money move and ask who is really benefiting from the transaction. Stop optimizing for comfort and start optimizing for leverage. Stop buying things that look like wealth and start buying assets that actually produce it. The math isn't complicated, the behavior is. Your financial freedom begins the exact moment you stop caring what your neighbors think of your driveway.